Hi, I'm Kristen, and this is the overnight corn recipe. So what this is, it's a corn that it's going to marinate in its own juices overnight. It's fresh corn. This is such a nice seasonal corn recipe. It's going to be fresh corn. We're going to cut it right off the cob. We're going to add in ginger and jalapeno and garlic. And so it kind of sounds like maybe a weird combination, but wait until you see what happens to it, okay? So the first thing I want to show you is how to cut off the corn from the cob without having the kernels fly in all the different directions, okay? So what you do is you take your corn, you put it in a big old bowl, and you're just going to cut down the cob, and all of our kernels stay in the bowl instead of flying all over the kitchen, okay? So we're just gonna do that. Look at how beautiful this corn is. I'm pretty sure it was picked this morning. I got it at the local farmer's market, which is one of my favorite things to do. Go to the farmer's market, talk to the people there. Okay, so I cut the corn off the cob, right? And all this beautiful, it's called milk, is in the cob. So I'm gonna take the back of my knife and I'm gonna run it down the cob. And this milky juice is going to come out of the cob, and that's going to go in the bowl. There's not a ton of it. You don't want to waste it, okay? It's delicious, and it's just a little bit of really nice liquid in there. So we're going to do that with 8 ears of corn. And then what I'm going to do is afterwards, with all the cobs, I'm going to put them all. I always keep a bag going, and I actually live on the second story of my house. So my kitchen's on the second story. So I tend to put all my kitchen scraps, all my vegetable scraps into a bag, and I put them in the freezer. And then they all go out to the compost pile at the end of the week or the day. So I'm going to save all these cobs and all these little bits that we're using today, and I'll save them, and I'll put them all in that bag and take them out to the compost pile. And I love to look at that pile because it's all fruits and vegetables and bits, and I feel healthy when I look at it. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of that corn, and now we're going to add a jalapeno in there. So I highly recommend a couple of plastic gloves. You can buy them in a box, and I like to put them on because the jalapeno is full of those hot seeds, and I'm not going to use those in this because I want a nice jalapeno flavor, but I don't want to overwhelm the people eating it, okay? All right, so I'm going to take off the ends of the jalapeno. I'm going to cut it down the center. And this way I can just go ahead and pull out all those seeds. And if I had bare fingers right now, my fingers would kind of burn a little bit. If I were to touch my face at all, my eyes would sting. So that's just a super easy way to do it. So I love having the plastic gloves around. So I'm just going to give this a little dice, and that's going to go into the bowl for the overnight corn. And all of that's going to marinate overnight, and all those flavors start dancing around, getting married, having a good time, having a party. That all goes in there. We're going to also add in some garlic. I'm going to put in 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm going to chop it up pretty small because all of this is going to go overnight, but I'm going to keep it all like that, and tomorrow I'm going to saute it in some butter or some olive oil to serve it. So everything that's going in tonight is going to end up in the dish tomorrow. So I don't want a big old piece of garlic in somebody's plate. So I'm going to cut it up pretty small. If you don't like garlic, if it's not something that agrees with you, you don't have to use it. And then the last ingredient is about 2 inches of ginger. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and peel off the outer part. A little tip about ginger: if you buy that giant root and you don't use all of it, and you're not someone that uses ginger a whole bunch in your cooking, you can go ahead and you can put it in a bag and put it in the freezer, and it'll stay great that way. So for this recipe, sometimes we cut it up and put it in little squares, little chunks, but for this recipe, we're gonna grate it. So I'm gonna just grate the ginger in there, and it's kind of like a woody kind of thing, so you get kind of a fibrous And so you stay away from that. So we're just gonna grate it and all the nice stuff goes in. Smells awesome. So if you've never put ginger in your corn before, so I was a little leery about this recipe the first time I read it. And usually I can taste a recipe when I read the ingredients, but I wasn't really too sure about this one. And it's amazing. It is so amazing tasting. And so I highly recommend that you give this one a try. So there's a whole bunch of ginger there. I'm gonna stir that up. I'm gonna add in a little bit of salt. And some pepper. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this whole mixture sit overnight, like 24 hours is the best, because like I said, all that's gonna get in there together and it's gonna start to marinate, and it's all the flavors are gonna get all intermingled. And then tomorrow we're going to, this recipe calls for a stick of butter. So you can do it that way if you want. It's delicious that way. If you'd rather just do a little bit of olive oil and saute it that way, it's perfectly good that way. What I like so much about fresh corn is it doesn't need anything on it. So that's totally up to you. It depends on what kind of mood and what kind of format that you're serving it in. So there's lots of options there. All right, so it's been 24 hours since I made the corn. And so I stored it overnight in the refrigerator. I love to cover up, instead of saran wrap, I love to use beeswax wrap. So that's what this is. It's reusable. I'll just rinse it and use it again. And I've gone ahead and I've melted some butter in a saute pan. And I'm gonna just add in all the corn. It's got the jalapeno and it's got the garlic and the ginger in it, and it's that fresh corn that we cut right off the cob. We put in some of that milk from the corn too. So we're gonna put it in butter and warm it through, and it's gonna be just about the best side dish you've ever had, or main dish. I don't need a ton of meat, and so this may be my main dish. I'd be happy for it to be. But this is a crowd pleaser, and it is absolutely delicious. Okay, and so I sauteed the corn that has the jalapeno and the ginger and the garlic. I added in a little bit of red chili just because I thought it might be extra pretty for you. Certainly you don't have to do that, but you can if you want to. It's just sort of a fun thing. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. You can use any kind of salt you like. I love Himalayan salt. This is a sea flake. It's a flake salt. And when it hits your tongue, it's like a little snowflake. It just goes, and it melts. And so I love that. It's a really nice complement to all kinds of foods. But anyway, so here is our corn salad, overnight corn, and it is delicious, and I hope you try it. Enjoy it.